to support each other, because when it comes down to it, the authentic, genuine support has to come from us. We can create our own medical center. The thing I know, because as a master instructor, I've traveled to all over the world.
Hello, viewers. Welcome once again to the Nanaya Yabua podcast. I am excited. In fact, excitement is an understatement. I am super excited because I have Martha Williams with me in the studio. You may not know Martha Williams, so if you don't know her, this is an introduction all over the world to Martha Williams. I got in touch with Martha Williams because August is Black Business Month, and there are a few Black businesses, but not enough here in Canada. And the other question that I also wanted to answer for myself was that what kind of businesses are Black people into in Canada? So recently being aware of Black Business Month and reaching out to a substantial amount of people who I believe are Black people in business. My only yes is who I am here. Yes, she is my only yes. And I am with her in the studio. She is a spinning instructor, and so you are one of 140 instructors in the nation in Canada.
Master instructors, yes.
Master instructors, yes. And she owns and operates the Pedal Works Cafe and Studios in Kingston, Ontario. Martha, I say, your dream is my dream.
Oh,
so you are not allowed to quit dreaming. Yes.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Nanaya Yabua podcast.
Well, thank you so much for having me, and I'm glad I was your yes today.
Amen. Mm-hmm. So to get right into it, I always want to know and understand, the psychology of, or the mindset of the business owner. How was growing up like for you?
Well, growing up, so I grew up in Kingston. I did go away for 30 years, but I did grow up here. And, that actually was part of the motivation to open a space, because growing up in Kingston, you can imagine 30, 40 years ago, I was the only Black kid in many spaces. So elementary school, the only one in the whole school. And then when I went on to Winston Churchill, which was grade 8, I think there was a Black teacher, which is really something.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But there weren't any other Black students. And then when I went to high school, it was always, pretty lonely. Not lonely. Like, I had great friends and, but I knew something was missing. So I was born in the States. And so my dad lived in Dorchester, outside of Boston. Well, in Boston.
Yes.
And so I went to live with him for a year. And that really was what I just wanted to be around. I didn't want to be the only one in my class. I didn't want to be the only one in my neighborhood, just for a year. It was just a plan for a year, because I'd planned to come back and go to Queens. We had grade 13 back then, so I was going to come back and finish high school here. But I played sports, and my basketball coach, who was in Boston, was like, well, what are you doing next year? And I was like, I'm going back home. And he's like, but you have such good grades. You have all these things going for you. Why don't you go to school here? And I was like, And so I ended up taking the SAT, which I didn't even know. We don't have standardized tests.
No, we don't. Yes.
So I was like, I don't even know what this is. And so anyway, I said, if I get in, I'll stay. If I don't, I'm out. I'm going back home. So I got in. I went to Wellesley College, which is an all-women's school outside of Boston. And that changed the whole trajectory of my life, because I ended up being in the States for several years. So growing up was, I I had a great childhood, don't get me wrong,
Mhm.
but there's that missing piece when you don't have anyone that represents you. You don't have and my mom being white wasn't she tried. She would buy dolls and color them in like, she was she would paint the white dolls just so that we'd have something, and then she put me in the West Indies. I'm not from the West Indies, but my father's from Liberia, but she put me because there wasn't
Oh,
any yeah, there wasn't any other there was the West Indian Society, that was it.
yes.
And so, I was in the West Indian Society and just pretended that I was from the Caribbean. And so, but, and we would have one thing, one big festival a year. So that was the only time where I felt like I sort of belonged, you know? But so there was that. But that's not a unique story. I don't think for many, I think for most people of color from from my generation felt very alone.
Yeah.
Um, and then the interesting thing is that being biracial, when I went to the States, I wasn't really there. People weren't super. Black folks weren't super welcoming either. And I heard things like, "Oh, you act like a white person," things like that.
Mm.
So which is why I don't know, like high school was a little that last year of high school was a little challenging because of that. But you know what? I'm a firm believer in like challenges being opportunities. And so that had a lot to do with me building this space here in Kingston so
Mhm.
that there would be one place where people could come no matter what and they would feel welcome.
Mhm.
And I've heard that feedback from people quite a bit that, oh, this is the first place I've come in and I
Feel
feel
welcome.
yeah, like I don't feel like I stand out in any way. Like it's just I get to come here. And so that's a really important component to the business that I've built.
It's beautiful to hear that because of your experience, you intentionally built a space to cut across and
Mhm.
bring humanity together. And that is very, very important. Unfortunately, we've let, colorism and race get into the aspect of seeing each other as human beings. And at least personally, I know that's what I preach. I ain't no preacher woman, but I can preach a little sermon here and there.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, that is true. So, opening up the space, what was the it factor? Did you always dream of opening up the space, or if you like one of us that decided, okay, this is not going, I need to do this because voices need to be heard, stories need to be shared, and create that platform?
What's interesting is, I don't. I think that when I think about and I think about all the little pieces that were put
Mhm.
together, one, my mom was even though she didn't want me to do this because it's so risky, right? It's a pretty big risk I just took.
Yeah.
But she was always an entrepreneur. Like my mom was always had a side hustle, always.
Hmm.
And so I just kind of always had a side hustle. I've always been
Yeah.
in the fitness industry, even though I had a regular job. I might be working in public health or public housing,
Hmm.
or, I worked for many, but I always was teaching or training. I always had something on the side.
Hmm.
And I remember I pledged a black sorority at Wellesley, is AKA, which Kamala is
Yeah.
actually an AKA. But anyway, and
Oh, okay.
yeah, so I'm an AKA. And
Yes.
I remember when we pledged, so Wellesley, Harvard, and
Hmm.
MIT were one chapter. We called them
Hmm.
chapters.
Yes.
And it was Lambda Upsilon chapter. And I remember we were all online and
Hmm.
I sat these women down one day and I said, we can create our own medical center because they were all lawyers. They were all
Mm.
lawyers, doctors. They were all going to be going into these professional fields. Like, I was the only
Yes.
oddball, right? But everybody else was like either going to med school or going to law school or going to business school. And I said, we can create our own community. We don't need to like assimilate and try and get into their stuff because we already know they don't
Yeah.
want us. So why don't we do our own thing? And they all thought I was crazy. So they gave me the nickname of they called me Ivy Black Power. Like Martha's always talking about doing this stuff separate. And so I think that it's always just been a part of what I know is like we can create. We don't because and then the process, through that and through all my experiences, and then the last company I worked for, I actually filed a discrimination tribunal complaint
Mm-hmm.
for discrimination.
That was here in the
It was in
States.
Canada.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm listening.
Yeah. The ironic thing is that I actually worked for the same company in the States, and the folks that I worked with in the States were, even though they were Trump supporters, which is shocking, they were actually more supportive than the people here that I worked with. So there's that. Anyway, I'm not going to go off on a tangent on that, but I will say this, that the company I worked for, when I first started, we did an exercise. We did a vision and goal exercise. Like, where do you
Mm-hmm.
want to see yourself in a year, 5 years, 10 years? And my 10-year plan in 2014 was to build this. This, like, almost exactly, except I wanted to be in Victoria, BC. But my brother, because that's where my brother was,
Yes.
and but my brother passed away 3 years ago.
Oh, sorry
So
to hear.
yeah, it's still hard. But
Hard. Yeah.
so I, kind of changed, but nothing else changed. And I created this space based on a goal I had in 2014. And I actually opened a year earlier. I opened in 2023. So, I'm a firm believer in, you set your goals, and it was always here. And it was always, you know, part of what I do when I teach cycling, when I teach spinning, is I have people visualize,
Yes.
and I am a firm believer, like, everything we do starts with a thought. Everything. Getting up in the morning starts
Yes.
with a thought. So if you know that, then your thoughts are powerful. And so my thoughts were always, I was visualizing, I was spending this time, and I know I manifested this. I had no idea where I was going to get the money, or, and there were so many challenges. There's so many challenges.
Martha, you're speaking my language.
So
Continue.
you just keep, but like
Yeah.
you keep that vision, and it's like everything starts to conspire, opportunities become available, and you start to pay attention to things that you didn't pay attention to before, because now you have a vision, you have a goal. And some people think it's hokey, but I'm like, no, I really know it works, because it's worked so many times in my life. It's worked so many times, and I'm getting pretty good at manifesting now. Like, it's getting pretty, like, I don't even worry anymore. Like, that's what I was saying. I had that fleeting thought, and I was like,
Yes.
what, I can create whatever I want.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it was a goal. It was something I focused on, but I wasn't overly stressed. And it was interesting, because when this happened at my other job, and I left, and was working in, like, diversity inclusion stuff and doing all the stuff to try, and then it happened to me. Like, I was actually changing. I was working on trying to change how we do performance reviews to get rid of bias,
Yes.
how we interview people to get rid of bias, so that we could be more responsible, um, so that we could be more inclusive. And then it happened to me. And and it wasn't like, this was not I was when I was at Wellesley was invested in South Africa at the time, when there was apartheid. So I got arrested for that, because I was protesting it. So I got arrested for that. And then I was at UCLA when the George Floyd thing happened, and I got arrested for that, because I was protesting. And what I realized, like, as all this stuff was happening to me, this was like a year and a half ago, and I was like, you know what? It's not going to change. And I know this intuitively.
Yes.
It's so systematic. It's not changing. And I need to stop trying to make it work with them. And I need to make my own place, because I can't gaslight myself. Well, I can, but at least if it's me doing it to myself, I'm doing it. It's not someone else doing it to me. I can't discriminate against myself. I can't tell myself that I'm being aggressive, or all of these things, all these the language and the trauma that I went through years of trying to fit into a place that didn't want me. They didn't want me. they said they did to my face, and they said I was, "Oh, you're so valuable. You offer so much." But at the end of the day, they wanted me, but they wanted me to be quiet
And
and follow the rules and not complain and take a paycheck and not want change, even though they said they want to change. And I was just exhausted and I was done. And so and then like, the whole thing was, "Oh, we don't want to lose you. Let's figure something out." It's like, so they're gonna move me. I'm like, I'm not the problem.
they're moving you to.
So they wanted to move me to a different department. So I didn't have to deal with these people anymore. And I was like, see, that's the problem, is that one, you're not holding them responsible or holding them to be accountable, or there's no consequence for their behavior of being racist. And so your solution is to move me. And I was like, but I coach all these people. And I hear almost every Black employee talk about how they didn't get the promotion, how their boss kind of like doesn't elevate them. I was like, why would I want to work? I was like, you're not taking this serious. You're not serious. You're saying you're serious, but you're not. And so I'm going to take all my energy, instead of spending 12 hours a day working for you. I'm going to go
Invest in yourself.
I'm going to go and build my own place and hire my own people and do my own programming, and that's what I do. And it's been freaking amazing. So, as hard as it is, at least I don't have that anymore.
I it's how best do I put it? It's sad it happened, but I'm glad it happened.
Yeah, my coach said it was a good no.
It's
That's what he said. He was like, "Martha, that was a good no."
a good no. Oh wow.
Mhm. Like
That's a
that.
different terminology, but I accept it. Yes, because I have learned in my life over the years to understand that things don't happen out of random.
No. Yeah.
You needed to go through that process for it to actually give you that temerity to say, I'm starting this,
Mhm.
and this is my intention for this space. You could only do what you can control, which is the space you are in. You
Mhm.
can control it to make it a humanistic space. Everyone will be welcome.
Right.
So what they didn't want, you can
Right.
create that. Yes,
It's
you
yeah,
can.
I actually, this is what I say to people now, I tried to change the world and I wasn't very successful. But this 3,000 square feet that I've created here, this I can control. I can control how people feel when they come in. I can control the scent. I can control the sound. I can control the programming. I can control who I hire in terms of like where they are in their own development, so that they're not taking their trauma and, placing it on my customers or my guests.
Mhm.
So I can this 3,000 square feet, I have control over this, right? And the hope is that when people come here, when they leave elevated, and they can take that energy, and they can, maybe the next interaction that they have when they walk out the door is a good one instead of a bad one, based
Yes,
on what they got here. And
yes,
so that's all I can do. And I feel
yes.
like, if and I think I was like, if every business had that as their intention, imagine what the world would be like. If the intention wasn't just about making money
Mhm.
and control and power, but it was actually about shifting people and elevating people, imagine what the world would be like
Hold
if
on.
everyone took their responsibility.
Shifting people and
Mhm.
elevating people. I
Yep.
had to repeat that.
Yeah.
Wow. Because many businesses are just about money. That's
Yep.
it. Like the numbers. If the dollar signs are not working, they're not interested.
Mhm.
But like if you're shifting people and elevating people, that means you create a welcoming environment that they consistently keep coming. And
Mhm.
everybody wants to have a sense of belonging.
Right. Yeah.
So that even if they don't want to come, they'll say, "Oh, let me go because I'm going to have fun. I'm going to be able to have a conversation with Martha. Martha is going to give me the Martha. I'm picking up and let's go
Mhm.
and whatnot." Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Um, just a little bit. I was checking the statistics on how many black businesses in Canada, and like our population into 2021 overall was 1.5 million, which is
Mhm.
4.3% of the total population. But in 2022, we only have 2.4% of all businesses in Canada, which is 140,000 plus businesses.
Mhm.
So we don't have enough black businesses when
Mhm.
you look at our population. So I'm really, really grateful that you have added one more to it, a
Mhm.
place where all of us can come to and learn from each other and understand what humanity is. Um, I saw in a post on LinkedIn that Curtis Carmichael wrote that
Mhm.
Martha is a goat, not that goat,
Yeah.
greatest of all time. And Pedal Works Cafe and Studio was the major highlight of his trip back to Kingston. And
Mm.
it's like, wow, that is a beautiful thing to say.
Mm.
When you come back into a space and you know this is the space.
Yeah.
And not many of us have those kind of spaces. I was going to ask you, I live in Brantford, so when are you coming closer? But
It's funny because actually Curtis said to me, he goes, "Are you opening one of these in Scarborough?" And I was like, "Let me just get this one done. Can we just open one?" I was like, "This is a lot of work," but it's interesting because
or
I,
franchise.
yeah, the thing it has been something that I've been thinking about, but I worry about franchising because I feel like I I probably would be accused of what do they say um which I mean, I guess if you're in a position where you can limit or you can control if someone buys your business, you could be racist in that situation. Me, I would want there'd have to be a certain type of person that would buy the franchise. Like it couldn't just be anybody. You know what I mean? Because as a franchise, the brand is not just the name, it is everything that is in the space. And so you have to be really careful about who you would have running it couldn't just be because I could think of franchises as like people just want to make money. They're not really invested in the business. It's an easy thing. They follow like steps. And um, so for me, I don't want someone to replicate this business to make money. Like that's not I have to cover my bills. Like I have to make money, obviously. I'm in a
Yes.
capitalist society. Like there's no way around it. I wish I could barter for everything. That would be awesome. Um, so I have to make enough to cover my overhead, to pay my staff, and I want to treat and I pay a living wage. Like I really believe in like supporting but I can't give them a lot of hours because I just don't have it right now. Um, so and I would like to go on vacation. I would like to have a couple days off a week, cover cover my overhead. Just like what I would just like to have what I was doing before, meaning financially. Have
Yes.
enough to retire off. Like I don't need 5 cars. Like I really don't. I just need one that works. And I would probably spend more of my money on a bike anyway, but go on vacation, be able to help my daughter through law school. Like, nothing I don't need to be Bezos. Like I don't have any aspirations of being that's just not I think money has its purpose, but if it's your focus, I think it takes away from the intention of what your a business shouldn't be about. I said this to my contractor who I still owe money to, by the way. It's like it just never ends. Anyway, my contractor's like, "Well, we're all in this for money." I was like, "No, no, no. I'm not though. I'm not in this for money." And that's the difference between you and me. I was like, "I am not in it for money. I am in it to provide a service to a community where I saw there was a gap, and I'm also in it selfishly because I need a place where I'm gonna be safe." And my daughter works for me right now. My staff who have been hit on by guys, I take those men because I can to the side and say, "You don't do that here, not here." You don't get to do that here. If you want to come here, you need to check that. You're not gonna treat my staff like that, like, try and hit on them and make them feel no, 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 wrong place.
Uncomfortable. No.
No, and I couldn't do that at any other job I've ever had, right? But I can do that here because I control what's in this 3,000 square feet.
Hmm.
So, I really just want this business. I would love to see, and, people say, or when I was writing my business plan, it was like, "Well, what's your competition?" I was like, "I don't have any." There's nobody doing what
You
I'm doing.
you are your own competition.
Nobody in the world is doing what I'm doing. I trust me. Nobody, nobody,
Yes,
nobody's doing what I'm doing. And I happen to
because
know that.
you have the cafe, you have the studio, you have an arts,
Yeah,
how do we call this?
yeah,
Everything in one space.
right.
I have to make the trip next time I
You
come
have
to
to come.
Belleville, past
Yeah,
Belleville and come.
yeah,
Yes,
'cause I'm not
yes.
far from Belleville. You have to, it's definitely worth the trip.
Hmm.
Um, it is a very unique space. And the thing I know, because as a master instructor, I've traveled to all over the world to spinning studios because I train instructors. I train them
Instructors,
to teach.
yes.
So I've been to Trinidad, I've been to Jamaica, I've been to Holland, I've been to Ecuador, I've been, all over the US. I've been to hundreds of spaces. There's nobody doing this. Nobody. And so when people were like, well, I was like, I mean, if you separate my business in the four pieces, then yeah, each one has competition,
Yes.
but as a whole, there
Under
isn't.
one umbrella, there's none. Yes, yes.
I was like, if you're looking for, and the thing is, I just finished teaching, and we did a Pilates class after, and they're just like, oh, this is so great. And then they got a coffee, like,
Yes.
and then they'll come on Thursday for the paint and sip event, and then they can come on a Friday and have
Oh, you
listen.
have a paint and sip event?
Yeah, we sold out. The last one sold out. Paint and sip, collage and sip, and we have live music. We have, so like, the space is a community space, and I'm on the board. We have, actually, you might be interested in this. I'm on a board for Black entrepreneurial ecosystem of Southeastern Ontario, and we're just really getting up. We did a few $500 grants in the fall, and this is our home base. Like,
Mm,
this is where we come to, like, we're doing a podcast. We're going to start a podcast out of here.
mm,
I'm on starting on every quarter. It will be just for Black entrepreneurs where we come together and we support and network with each other. But on the first Fridays, starting actually next week, next Friday, is it's for all entrepreneurs in Kingston, not just Black ones, but entrepreneur networking and social. So every first Friday. So I'm trying to, like, I think entrepreneurs are, like, we are, we're the next, we got to get away from these big corporations, and putting all our money into this, because the people aren't getting their, it's not okay. It's not okay. You work hard, and you get to see very little of the profit. And entrepreneurs, I think, have an opportunity to change that. Um,
you telling me about it? Don't let me start with my paycheck.
yeah.
Because I was telling a friend yesterday, I'm a registered nurse by profession.
Mhm.
By the time I am done, I take a look at how many hours and my paycheck, and it's like, where did the money go?
Mhm.
I'm almost always so upset when I see the paycheck. But I can't be too upset because at least it covers the basics. But does it have to be this way?
Mhm.
30%, it's more than 30%. Almost half of your paycheck is gone.
Yeah. Well, taxes in Canada are definitely, but I will say this, when living in the States and seeing how many people didn't have health care, our healthcare system is not the best. I mean, in terms of, accessibility. But when I quit my job and I didn't have private health insurance, had a little moment of fear because I was like, "Oh, what am I gonna do if I,"
Mm.
and then I realized I don't live in the States. I still have healthcare. I forgot. And I kid you not, like, it's probably partially just I broke my wrist, like, maybe a month late after I left my other job. And if I'd done that in the States, I would have been so screwed. But here, I just had to deal with the emergency room. And, but I got a cast, got an x ray, and everything for free, right?
Not necessarily.
Well, I mean, I'm paying taxes for
Your
sure.
pay, your taxes paid.
But if I was in the States, I'd be paying
Yeah,
taxes and I
and
would probably been charged
yeah,
$13,000. So, um, there is, and I'm okay paying taxes for healthcare. I'm
yeah,
okay with that.
yeah.
I'm also okay with paying taxes, for my daughter not to have to pay $60,000 to go to university. So, there I lived in the States for 30 years. I have no interest in ever going back. I don't know if I'd be able to do this there. I might be able to. I don't know. Um, I mean, I probably could. It'd probably be cheaper actually, but anyway,
That's not where your heart is.
that's not where my heart is. I'm
That's
here.
not where.
My
Yes,
family's here. My
yes.
daughters, everybody's here. This is where I grew up.
Hmm.
This is where I feel that the gap is. The gap is
Yes.
this business would not work where I was in Atlanta. They don't need this. They got, they got black schools, they got churches, they got black rest everything. They don't need this there.
Listen,
They need everything.
I haven't been to the ATL in a long time, but I see that a lot of movement amongst Black people in ATL and even in Texas as well. So that gives me hope on the side of the border that we can also do it. And when I see people like yourself, Martha, you doing it, it's exhilarating because any young person or any other business entrepreneur also looking at you, watching you, and having a listen to this conversation can say, okay, she's done it. She's going through her challenges. She's managing her challenges. I can also do it. I can also manage it and get
Yeah,
through it because it ain't easy, but it's doable.
it's doable.
It's doable. So my next question was going to be about work-life balance and your mental health and you taking care of yourself. But
Mhm.
you let snippets on the table and scaling. Scaling, we are not getting to scaling yet.
Yeah.
That
Yeah,
yes.
it's not I mean, I just started taking Sundays off.
Hmm.
But, honestly, like when I have my days off, I want to be here. Like this is where I'd want to come to have a coffee and relax
Boundaries.
and read a book, but I mean, like, I love cafes. That's
Yes.
what I do in my downtime is I would go to a cafe.
Mm,
But I get outside, I ride my bike. I try to The great thing is that I've created a space that while I am working,
mhm,
I love it here. It's got a fireplace. It's got knitting in the corner. I can paint. I can get a good cup of coffee. I have in my office, I have a couch. I can take a nap. So I teach a lot of classes. I am tired, but I'm loving every bit of it. And I do need a vacation. I need to get away for sure. Like I need 4 weeks at some point, not not anytime soon, but just to go away. Um, but that's coming, and in the meantime, I just take my mini vacations. And like my
mhm,
daughter's an adult. I don't have a partner, so I don't have any responsibility for other people.
mhm,
It's just me.
mhm.
And so I don't have to check in with people like, oh, I could just get to do because I feel like if I had that, that would be really challenging trying to balance a relationship with,
I know. We'll put them to work.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think it would work out right now.
Yeah.
Um, and and that's okay.
Mhm,
I'm enjoying the process. I'm excited about
mhm.
possibility. I'm trying to stay in this place of wonderment, knowing like what can happen next. Every day I'm like, every single day something amazing happens.
Yes.
And that's my fuel right now. And I know that this time next year I'm gonna take a nice vacation and just celebrate what I've done. Like I'm almost at the year anniversary,
Okay.
but financially, I can't take the time off, but I will be able to soon.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah.
Because normally with entrepreneurial businesses, the first year to 3 years is your most challenging.
Yep.
And when you're able to exceed that, then you have some sort of stability.
Mhm.
But it is beautiful thing you're doing. I
Thank
haven't had the chance to come there yet, but I promise you, I will make the drive. How long is it? About 3.5 hours or so.
So it's not far. Take the train. Take the train. Then you can, and if you take business class, you get a meal, you get to relax. That could be like, for me, the train can be a vacation,
Mm,
especially if you take business class, because, and if you do it early enough, you can get it cheap. So that's the trick. I'll be like, oh, I just want to sit on the train and have someone serve me hot, and the food's good, actually. You get a little glass
okay.
of wine, like it's worth the extra $100. Trust me, it is worth it.
That is going on my bucket
And
list.
the train station is literally walking distance from my cafe. And there is
Okay.
a hotel like right next, like next to the cafe.
So
And
it's
it's
very
brand new.
centrally located.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, on
yeah,
that note, if we're looking for the cafe, could you give us the address, how people
yes,
can contact you
yes.
online,
Would
etc.,
love that.
etc.?
Yeah. It's 1412 Princess Street in Kingston, Ontario. And you can find me online at pedalworkscafe.com.
Okay. Or if you go to LinkedIn, you can
It's
find
under my
Martha.
name. Yeah, it's under my name, Martha Williams.
Yes,
Yeah. And
yes.
Instagram, it's Pedalworks Cafe Kingston. Facebook, it's Pedalworks Cafe. So pretty much, if you put in Pedalworks Cafe, you'll find all my social handles.
So, guys, we've been having a beautiful conversation with Martha Williams, owner of Pedalworks Cafe and Studios. And
Yes.
this has been a beautiful celebration of my yes
Oh,
for Black Business Month. And we'll continue to celebrate you. Next year, we'll catch up and we'll continue
yeah.
to celebrate you, support you however best we can.
Thank
We're
you.
at your service. Thank you for leading this, entrepreneurial journey for those that want to, come. Because whether you like it or not, now you're a mentor. So, any last words for people before we leave?
No, I mean, just thank you for, taking the time to elevate Black businesses, because I think one of the things, I don't know if you've ever read Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, but
I think I have the book somewhere.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, the basic premise that I walked away with is that we have internalized our distrust of ourselves because of the way we were socialized and what Black people are about. So, getting support from the Black community has been challenging.
Yes.
The Indigenous community has been amazing, and
Mhm.
thank goodness for white people, because they're like 99.9% of my membership.
Mhm.
And we need to support each other, because when it comes down to it, the authentic, genuine support has to come from us. And so we have to put aside all the misinformation that we have
Mhm.
been taught about us as people. And we are smart, and we are trustworthy, and we are able to create things and do things that we were always told we can't do. And if we don't support each other, then we can't grow as a community. And so I would much rather be, instead of paying my landlord, I'd rather be paying a Black owned landlord, which we don't have right now. We don't have
Yeah.
Black owned commercial real estate.
Places. Yeah.
And so that's our next step. That's my next step, is to get something for us, so that we're getting the money and supporting our families, instead of me paying, the landlord, which it's a whole nother conversation. But so those are my last words: support Black businesses.
Support Black businesses, and I'm going to stop there because she started putting ideas in my head.
Well, thank you for the